Welcome back to another episode of Believe in TCU. I'm Zion Trammell, and I'm joined by my co-host Seth Dowdle. We have returned from the bye week, Seth, ready to go as TCU Football gets set to host Iowa State this Saturday at the Carter, 2:30 p.m. on Fox. Seth, you'll be in the press box for that game. You
I'll
excited
have
for it?
my eyes will be on it in person. I will be calling the game with Jason Minetti and Robert Griffin III. Just kidding. Wouldn't that be something? Me and RG3 hamming it up
Yeah.
at the Carter. But no, it should be a good time at the office. I'll be on the clock. So, yeah, looking forward to talking about this game. I think there's a lot to kind of chew on here. Especially on the TCU side, obviously, because that's what we're talking about for the most part. But for Iowa State too, I think that this is a game that's important for them as well, as are all of them, but maybe this one a little bit more so than others, and especially for the Frogs, who are entering a tough stretch in the season, to say the least.
Yeah, final four games of the year coming off the bye week. You got Iowa State, then you go to BYU in a tough environment. Then you've got Houston and then Cincinnati to close out the season. So it's going to be tough sledding for the Horned Frogs. They come in with a 6-2 record. I believe they sit in sixth place in the Big 12, while Iowa State, they're in free fall. 5-4 record. They started off 5-0. Then four straight conference losses. They lost to Cincinnati 38-30, lost to Colorado by 7, which that's a bad loss because the Buffaloes have given up 50-plus points in the last 2 weeks. Then a bye. They have 3 bye weeks?
Yes, because they played in week 0.
Oh, that's right. Yes. The downfall of Ireland there. I guess they won that game, but
it hit both sides hard this year.
yeah.
Although it looks like K-State's on a little bit of a comeback, but still not too much.
It's been a reverse. They won that game and then they went out to 5-0 record, and now they started losing. K-State, they went downhill from there, but they seem to kind of be picking it back up a little bit. But yeah, they lost to BYU by 13, then lost to Arizona State, who was without Sam Leavitt. So
Jeff Sims here. I wrote about this game last week.
Jeff Sims was the starting quarterback for Arizona State, who I forgot.
228 rushing yards, Jeff Sims.
Oh my gosh, what 228? Goodness gracious, that's crazy.
Anyway, watch out for Josh Hoover's legs in this one. He's gonna be cooking.
He might be. You never know. But it's been a very strange year for Matt Campbell's team, just riddled with injuries, Seth. I mean, I can't even begin to start how many they've had.
Yeah, and that's kind of been one of the big reasons for their demise, right? Because they start off 5-0. They beat a K-State team that I'm not going to say that K-State was bad in that game. I'm going to say that Iowa State was probably maybe the reason that their season kind of spiraled out of control the way it has. Kind of very similar to Oregon and Penn State, if you catch my drift there. Like, I think that if Kansas State wins that game, they don't go on and lose to Army or whatever, right? But then Iowa State's beat Iowa, and Iowa was ranked in the initial college football playoff rankings and is a less than a touchdown underdog against Oregon this week and legitimately has a chance to make the playoff. And so that's a really good win. But then they got to that Cincinnati game, and they were just getting banged up left and right. And from then, it really has not stopped the injuries. And that's allowed them to or enabled them to lose some games that you probably wouldn't think they would have heading into the year. Now, listen, I think for me, at least, and I think we talked about this a little bit in our Big 12 preview episodes that we did prior to the season, if you recall those, we expected Iowa State to perhaps take a little bit of a step back this year from, they made the Big 12 championship game last year. They won the Pop-Tarts Bowl against Miami. People forget that Iowa State was the Pop-Tarts Bowl champion last year. Which is, they might as well have won the Natty, in my opinion. But they were losing quite a bit of talent, including 2 NFL wide receivers. And the fact that Iowa State had 2 NFL wide receivers is even nuts in the first place. But you're losing 2 NFL wide receivers, and it's hard to replace.
On the same team.
On the same team, yeah.
In Houston.
Both on the Texans. Jalen Noel, how they miss you so much. And you're just like at Iowa State, you're not going to be able to replace those type of guys within one cycle. This is a program that's a very developmental thing, and what Matt Campbell has done there has been he's a legitimate wizard. They had won 4 bowl games prior to him being there. They've won 4 since his time there. It started, I think, in like 2016 or 2017. So like he's a legit wizard. Hence why his name keeps coming up in all these coaching rumors. But sometimes you can't compete with injuries, and that's just been the case so far for Iowa State. And I think the losses to Colorado and then a Sam Levitt-less Arizona State that was also without Jordan Tyson kind of just encapsulate that.
Yeah, that's true with Jordan Tyson out as well. Yeah, it started with cornerbacks Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams. They were the first to go down, 2 of the Cyclones' top cornerbacks out for the season. And then that kind of started this downward spiral. Matt Campbell, a couple days ago, said linebacker Will McLaughlin is out for the season, and then safety Tayshawn James will be out a while. It continues to mount up. You just can't overcome it. They have a bunch of guys out for this week. Defensive back Jamison Patton is doubtful, and then just a slew of guys that are out for this game. Good news, though, for them is their running back. Oh, gosh, I'm going to mess this one up.
Abu Sama III.
There you go. He is probable.
Right, I don't know if that's right, by the way, but
it seems right. I apologize. I probably should have looked that up before, but he is expected to play this week. So,
and I mean, TCU has also like been not hammered with injuries. I'd say that TCU, knock on wood, here has been pretty lucky with injuries so far this season. I know the injury report was released last night. Ed Small won't be playing again. Kyle Emmerman's doubtful. And then Colton Deary is questionable. But literally those are the only 3, for the most part, that are of any consequence toward what TCU wants to do on a down-to-down basis. So I think it looks like from the injury report, at least, that the bye week did a lot of wonders for the Frogs. The thing with Iowa State, though, is they don't have that luxury. They're having to come off a game, 2 games in a row, 2 tough ones in a row against BYU. And people forget Iowa State was up multiple scores on BYU twice in that game. And Rocco Beck threw 4 interceptions, one of which was a pick 6. And that's your ball game right there. BYU just always finding a way to win. You cannot get in the way of Bear Bachmeier. It's just not going to happen. And then last week, it was a total, defensive collapse, at least in the rushing in the rushing sense, where you let Jeff Sims rush for over 200 yards on you. And I'd say that is not something TCU is maybe going to be able to replicate because they don't have a mobile quarterback. But I guess we can get into some of the things that we think are keys for the Frogs and for Iowa State in this game now, since we have the baseline injuries and all that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Seth, the bye week came at a really good time for TCU, gave them a chance to kind of reset. And Sonny Dykes said this is as healthy as the team has been all season long. So Cade Bennett coming back as well. This is a very, very important game. It's the beginning of the final 4 games here for TCU. They need to win out, really. I mean, they've got to win out. Unfortunately, Iowa State did us no favors by losing to Arizona State because they still hold the tiebreaker over us. So would have been nice if they beat ASU last week, but
yeah, I think that without Sam Levitt, I think another loss or 2 is on the way for Arizona State. And if I don't know Jordan Tyson's status, I haven't looked that up recently, but if he's going to be out for the foreseeable future, I don't know if they can replicate that type of performance over and over again with Jeff Sims. Because look, Zion, I've been watching Jeff Sims play college football since I was 5 years old. Listen, is what it feels like at this point. And I saw him at Georgia Tech. I saw him at Nebraska. I think whenever I think of Jeff Sims, and I know we're talking about Arizona State, this is an Iowa State episode, but when I think about Jeff Sims, I think about that Colorado game in 2023 in Boulder where he just could not catch a snap.
Yeah, I remember that. That was hilarious. So my reaction when you told me the game he had against Iowa State, the shock on my face was apparent. So anyway, but yeah. Anyways, back to Iowa State. Keys of the game. I think really, TCU obviously they've looked much better at home. They got off to a really good start against Baylor before Mother Nature happened. So
before the fateful final 3 minutes almost doomed us all.
they could have completely derailed this season. So they in their home games, this is their fifth home game, but in the four prior, they've scored at least 35 points in all of them. So expecting the same here, 35 at least for the Frogs. But in all seriousness, they do need to get off to a quick start. I think just to kind of settle it in after the bye week. I wouldn't say like rust is a thing, but just to kind of get the good vibes going early on. I think this is certainly a winnable game for TCU, a lot more winnable than it looked a few weeks ago. Iowa State's down a bunch of guys on defense. I think if Hoover and this offense can get rolling pretty early, they should feel good about winning this ball game.
I mean, yeah, and you just want to kind of rub some of the stink off of the game in Morgantown. And I know TCU won that game, but it was a very stinky game, and I don't think anyone left that feeling particularly happy with how TCU played. And albeit it does look a little bit better after seeing what West Virginia did to Houston this past weekend, but still, that was a stinky performance, and you kind of want to wash that off quick, because if you don't, I mean, Iowa State is a team and Matt Campbell is a coach where they are good enough, if they get a lead, that they can salt that away on you and win the game. I'm not going to pretend that Iowa State can't beat TCU on Saturday. I think they very much can, and especially given recent history between these two teams, it might even be something that you would say is likely, because Iowa State's just had TCU's number since 2017. Now, I'm not going to go that far, because I think every year is a different year, and this team for TCU is, they're in a good spot. They're coming off a bye. They're rested. Iowa State's played multiple games in a row with a very, very banged up team, especially in the secondary, which is where TCU wants to feast on. They're going to want to throw the football. So I think you're right. I think TCU needs to get off to a fast start. And I think if they do, they'll probably be in good shape so long as they're able to, keep their foot on the gas for the entire game. Now, that's always a big if, but they've been able to do that at home better than they have on the road. So I would have more confidence they can do that here today, or not today, on Saturday.
Man, if they had to go to Ames, I would be. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be as confident as I am right now. Isn't that crazy though? Like just the dip for the stark contrast between TCU playing at home versus on the road is absolutely insane. I mean, they look like completely different teams, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
And I don't want to look ahead to next week, but not looking forward to. I think I know what we're going to talk about in our preview there. And listen, Provo at night for the Frogs might be the end of the Big 12 dreams. I'll just say that.
It's going to be tough for sure, but
gotta win on Saturday first for that even to be a thing that we're talking about. So
to be a possibility, it's going to be. It's again, you can't look past Iowa State. They've. I know that they are in struggling a lot, but they've been able to remain competitive in most of those games. And yeah, Matt Campbell's a great coach as well. So I wanted to ask you about this because it feels so long ago, but against the West Virginia game, Trent Battle got a bulk of the carries, and Kavorian Barnes was pretty quiet. He was absent really in that second half. I'm curious, do you think that's going to happen again? Like, could that be a trend of, hey, maybe they think Trent Battle is RB1 now? Are they trying something different? They said it was kind of just based on matchup that they liked Trent Battle a little bit better. What do you think? How do you think it'll happen on Saturday with the running backs?
I think that they're going to need Kavorian Barnes's ability to go north-south against a Iowa State defensive line that, while is not dominant, but does have a dominant player in Dominic Orange, who legitimately might be one of the best defensive linemen in the Big 12. I think you're going to need someone like Kavorian Barnes to combat that type of ability on the other side of the ball. I'm not trying to say that Trent Battle wouldn't be able to succeed in this game, because obviously he was able to do so to a certain extent. I do want to put the caveat that he had 89 yards or whatever it was, but like 40 something of it was on one carry. TCU was not really able to run the ball at all against West Virginia. Maybe the numbers kind of suggest something different, but I think that it would be in their best interest. And I'm not at practice. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not inside sourced up like other people. But from what I've seen all year long, TCU's running game has been at its best when Kavorian Barnes has the football. And if they were lying to us and saying that, we liked the matchup better with Trent Battle and maybe it was actually a health issue with Kavorian Barnes, he's had 2 weeks to get that figured out. He's not on the injury report. I would be confident that he would be getting the rock most of the time. That's just an assumption, though, and we've assumed wrong many times with TCU football.
I do love Kavorian Barnes' physical running style. I think it'll certainly help in this game against Iowa State. And I think Trent Battle is better used as a guy that you just have a few plays run for him and not necessarily giving him the ball 18 to 20 times or whatever. I think Battle is utilized a little better when it's not as frequent and it kind of just pops up on you. I mean, how many times have we said, "Oh, hey, look, Trent Battle is here," and he's been more frequently utilized in the offense this year. But I think Barnes should be your workhorse, and I think you can use Battle or even Jeremy Payne in short spurts, and I think that would work out better for TCU.
Yeah, I obviously the running game has been the subject of scrutiny for the entire year for the most part, and I honestly don't expect it to be super duper successful in any game that they play, because I just think that they're just not that good of a rushing attack. But I do think that there's an opportunity to at least be somewhat competent against Iowa State. And I think they need to down the stretch in all four of their games, particularly in the ones against BYU and Cincinnati, that you're going to need to control the pace of play. I don't know if that'll be as big of an issue against Iowa State, although, again, TCU's a favorite. TCU's at home, but Iowa State's got a very competent quarterback. I know Rocco Beck's not been having the best last month or so, but he's still one that could beat TCU. And so I think it'd be in TCU's best interest to keep it out of his hands for as long as possible. And I know that TCU's game is not to control like time of possession. I think they frequently lose time of possession. But I think it'd be cool if they could just salt this one away with their ground attack. I don't know if it's possible, though.
I don't either, but it would be great. It just give you a little more confidence as you head into the final part of this season to have a game where you're not worried if the offense can just put it away. It just has not happened yet this season. I would argue the only game maybe UNC and at times SMU, but in
the Colorado game at the end, they did a decent job of just keeping the ball, and the UNC game doesn't count because they were up by 30.
That's the thing. Like close games, like relatively 1-2 score games of just being able to put it away. And even when TC was up by 3 scores, they still almost didn't put it away. So it would be good. I think it's something that they've got to be talking about. I don't think that's just like a thing that fans are discussing and it's not really an issue in the locker room. Like it has to be something that they should be focused on and just laser focused on having plays that can help you put a game away. I don't know. It's such an odd trend for TCU that they're faced with this year. And so we'll see. Hopefully they don't find themselves playing from behind against Iowa State.
No. And I mentioned earlier, I do want to talk about this a little bit, the poor history that TCU has against Iowa State. And this is just since 2017. Pre-2017, they were 7-1 against Iowa State. 2017 to now, 2-5.
Wow.
One of those losses was the 2017 loss, and I know this because it haunts me forever. TCU was undefeated. They were ranked number 4 in the country heading into Ames, and they didn't score an offensive touchdown. Their only touchdown in that game was a Cavante Turpin kick return in a game they lost 14-7. Now, TCU had a good year that year. They ended up making the Big 12 title game. They lost to Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma, and then they went on to win the Alamo Bowl against Stanford. But the rest of the losses are not great. There was a loss in 2019 that was not fantastic. There was a loss in 2020 where Brock Purdy threw the backwards fumble interception pass thing, and they still lost the game. There was the game in 2021 where it was the last game of the year. TCU was playing without a head coach, right? Jerry Kill was the interim, and they went in there and they kind of got their doors blown off in Ames. Then they beat him in 22. They killed him in 22, if you recall.
Yep, last game of the regular season.
Last game of the year. Absolutely killed him. Needed to. And then in 23, they went up to Ames, and TCU threw 4 interceptions, and it took 3 players to do that. 3 TCU players threw an interception against Iowa State in 2023. 2 were by Chandler Morris, who then left the game midway with an injury. 1 was by Josh Hoover, and Zion, who threw the 3rd interception, or who threw the 4th interception for TCU.
2023?
Yeah.
Oh.
In a 27-14 loss in Ames, I believe is what the final score was.
Was it a wide receiver?
It was a wide receiver.
Was it Savion?
No, it was J.P. Richardson through the 4th interception.
Wow, that's crazy.
And TCU lost that game. But
so you're telling me history has not favored the Horned Frogs?
No, the good news is they're 2-5, right, in the last 7. Both of those wins have been in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So
that helps.
This game is not in Ames. This game is at A&G Carter Stadium. TCU always plays better at A&G Carter Stadium, as do most teams. Most teams play better at home. But TCU, especially this year, has played much better at home. They haven't lost a game. And in recent history, they're 2-1 against Iowa State in Fort Worth. So with the one loss being a weird fluky COVID game where there were 11,000 people in the stands and Brock Purdy was there. So
I'm surprised there was even fans. I didn't even. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in that game too, Matthew Downing started at quarterback for TCU, and he was benched midway for Max Duggan.
Oh, hey, look at that! I know that guy.
Yeah, I know. But
turned out pretty good.
Yeah. Just a weird matchup with Iowa State in terms of history over the past couple of years, and we've talked about it. That's been the difference in TCU missing out on some opportunities in maybe the postseason. They do fine against Baylor, fine against SMU, fine against Texas Tech, but they can't beat the K-States, Iowa States, and West Virginias. And this year, it's the time to turn that on its head. They couldn't beat K-State, but they beat West Virginia, and now here's Iowa State.
Here they are. They are here, and it's an opportunity to kind of rewrite history a little bit. Try to get some wins. You mentioned earlier about Rocco Becht, and he's still a good quarterback, but he has been prone to turning the ball over a lot. I think you said 4 interceptions against BYU. He's turned it over in 4 of the 5 conference games this year. That certainly would be nice for TCU to be able to get ahead, as if they can win that battle. I don't think they turned the ball over against West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously,
they just played terrible.
Yeah, obviously they did against Baylor, and we talk about it every week, so I'll just be brief. But it's important that TCU wins that battle, and if they can get a couple, if Bud Clark can intercept Rocco Becht, then that'd be great. I think I predict a Bud Clark interception every week, so it's really not that crazy when it does happen.
TCU's got some ball hawks, and they've been able to turn the ball over or get takeaways, I should say, at a pretty decent rate. Like Jamel Johnson's been, picking balls off left and right. But Clark, obviously, that's what he does really super duper well. I'm telling you, this defense reminds me a lot of those Cowboys defenses from 22 and 23 in terms of their ability to just kind of home out the football and get turnovers.
Yeah.
They'll bend a lot, but they won't. Usually, they play really good red zone defense. They're pretty decent in the red zone, and they get turnovers. Now, hopefully, that doesn't. The trend for the Cowboys defense is now they suck, but hopefully we don't. Hopefully, we don't do that in a couple of years.
Let's hope not. So Seth, before we do any like score predictions or anything, is there anything else kind of that you feel like needs to happen in this game? Before we also look ahead to Week 11 in the Big 12.
Anything that needs to happen in this game for TCU to win? Is that your question?
Yeah. Or anything you're looking for?
I'm looking for third down play calls.
Okay.
I'm keeping my eye out on it. Suspicious lack of screens and slants recently.
Yes, I'll take dibs on first down.
Okay.
Then we can kind of figure the rest
TCU, first, maybe not even third down is what we need to be looking for. First and second down, I think you might be right on this. TCU has gotten a little bit better at this. They're still having a propensity to get in these third and long situations, and then that costs them. So you're right. First down and then second down as, by proxy, and then that determines what you do on third. But that's what I'm looking out for. We've had our eye on this all year long. It has not been great. They need to be better. And it's easy to say they need to be better, but maybe this is just their DNA.
It might be. I hope it's not, but it's not been great. Okay, let's look ahead to this weekend for the Big 12 before we do score predictions. There's really only one game that everybody's going to be watching. The other ones, Houston, UCF, Cougars looking to bounce back after a tough loss at home where nobody was there. Pretty insane, but that's besides the point. Colorado will take on West Virginia. Kansas will take on Arizona, but all eyes will be on Lubbock. College game day, heading to Lubbock, Texas, to watch BYU taking on Texas Tech. The Cougars ranked 7th, Tech ranked 8th. It's the biggest matchup in the Big 12 this season, and certainly implications for Arlington and for TCU as well, potentially.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to get my mind around what TCU needs in this, because I think what TCU really needs is just to win all 4 of their games if they want to get to Arlington. What happens around them is noise, and will affect them. But this conference is so jumbled, especially kind of where TCU is right now, that rooting for certain teams, it's hard to even quantify what TCU needs. For the Big 12, though, I will say this. The college football playoff rankings from Tuesday night presented some very quality news for the Big 12. They had 3 teams ranked, all 3 of which were in the top 13, all 3 of which were higher than the highest ACC team. That suggests to me that the Big 12 is much more likely to get 2 in than the ACC is to get 2 in. And so I think the path to that potentially could be multiple different avenues, but I think the path to that right now would be 2 ways. Whoever wins this game, BYU or Tech, if both sides win out and then the other team wins in the Big 12 championship game, I think they're both in. If that makes any sense what I just said.
So if BYU wins this game and they win out, which
same with Tech, they both win out. They play in Arlington, and then Tech beats BYU in the Big 12 championship game. They're both in because BYU would be 12-1. Tech would be the conference champion and automatically get in.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen because that would mean TCU would lose to BYU. So, but yes. I see what you mean. I see it. That is an interesting scenario, and that would be huge. That'd be huge for the conference because the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, we'll be happy with 1. That's.
We made fun of Brett Yormark for talking at Big 12 Media Days about how he wanted more than 1 in.
Yeah, and it's very, very possible that both those teams could get in. And hey, you never know. Like, we'll see what happens with other SEC Big Ten teams. But again, you mentioned, I think Utah's knocking on the door. They really like Utah. The committee really
I like
likes them.
Utah.
Yeah, they're a good football team. They deserve it.
Utah had the unlucky thing of having both their losses be to BYU and Texas Tech.
Exactly. I mean, the two best teams. It's.
Listen, now, is there a possibility that BYU, who's been kind of skating on thin ice all year long, right? This is a team that loves to play one-score games. They have Tech, TCU, Cincinnati, and UCF to close out the year. Are you telling me they're definitively going to go beat Cincinnati on the road? I can't tell you that for sure. I think TCU could probably beat them now. It's in Provo, so I'd put that like a less than 50% chance, maybe even less than 30. I think if they beat Texas Tech, though, then all bets are off. Because I think you and I would both agree, Tech is the better football team in terms of who they have like on the roster. But BYU has that culture, I guess, that tight-knit culture. Good coaching staff, too.
Yeah, they do have a great coaching staff. And Tech's favored by 10 right now. That's insane. That's wild to me.
And that's
yeah. You're totally right, though. Like, that's just like Tech having the better football team, and there is a very real possibility that Tech just kind of rolls through the Cougars. I mean, who knows? It's especially at home.
BYU's got to run the ball. That's all. They need to. Tech has the number one run defense in the country. BYU loves to run it. So that is the game of the year in the Big 12. Last year, the game of the year in the Big 12 was Arizona State BYU. Arizona State won. Arizona State went on to win the conference, and then went on to give Texas a run for their money in the Peach Bowl. So this is a big game, and that game happened around this time last year as well. So very, very excited for that one. And what's even better, Frog fans, you can watch that at 11, and then you can just go right into the TCU game at 2:30.
It's nice. Yeah, I know Tech fans are not happy with the 11 a.m. kickoff. They wanted that prime time.
I know, but did you really think what's the 6:30 ABC game this week?
It's
LSU Bama. I'm sorry, Tech.
Yeah.
I understand though.
I get it, but it's just you can't compete with that, even though LSU's kind of struggling, but still, it's just. I think the important thing is that this is a Big 12 game at 11 a.m. on ABC. That has not happened. College game day there. That has not happened. I know game day was there last week for Cincinnati, Utah, but getting that primetime slot the primetime network with ABC at 11. That's the big part, and I'm glad that. Look, we don't love Texas Tech, but I'm glad these two teams are getting the spotlight for Saturday morning because these two teams deserve it. They've been great stories, and it'll be a fun game to watch.
We need to have a discussion about the additions that TCU we don't that the Big 12 has made to their 8 teams have joined the conference over the past 2 seasons, and of the teams in the top 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them were not in the conference 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been good. I would say really the only school that has not provided much as far as like some of the major sports has been UCF.
I think you're right. I think everyone else has contributed something.
Yeah, because Houston's had some great. Their men's. They were in the title game for men's basketball a year
ago. I know Colorado football stinks right now, but last year was a legit good year for them.
Yeah.
West Virginia, their basketball team's pretty good, and their baseball team has been fine.
West Virginia,
yeah.
But they've been in the conference for a while.
Oh, you're right. I thought we were talking about. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Arizona State winning the Big 12 for football.
Arizona's got a good basketball program. Beat Florida on Monday.
Yeah. So
BYU's got a heck of a basketball program.
Yeah, they're going to be good. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, Brett Yormark has had some schools has had the new schools contribute a lot in the Big 12. So that's kind of where TCU's got to say, hold on, wait a minute, you guys are new here, but we're the veterans. Let's go. Let's show who's boss.
And that they have the opportunity to do that over these last 4 weeks. And listen, we've kind of been, skirting around the bush here on this one, but there are a lot of different paths that these last 4 games can take. Some of them present really encouraging results. There is always the possibility that TCU runs the table. They finish 10-2. Perhaps that means an appearance in the Big 12 title game. Perhaps that means an appearance in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Either way, I think a 10-2 season is a success for TCU. There's also the case they go 3-1 and they go 9-3. We predicted them to go 9-3 this year. Both of us did. And so that would be a success as well. 2-2, 8-4 feels a little bit. It feels, it's just like what they did last year, a retread to a certain extent. Now with a tougher schedule, and last year was a weird year where a lot of things went wrong. Same though with this year to a certain degree. And then 1-3, if you finish 7-5 or 6-6, real conversations about the future of the program. I don't know if that means firings, maybe some on the coaching staff, maybe not at the top, but because listen, this is a new AD. This AD did not hire any of these people. So I just want to put that out there.
He's not obligated to keep him around, but
I would say the same thing goes with the basketball program on that one too.
Oof, yeah. A little side note, we did our basketball season preview. You can go listen to it, but it's some of our takes have been
take a lot of it with a grain of salt if you want to listen to it with the
listen to the back half
hindsight.
Listen to the back half with the women's team. That's where hopefully we're right about that. We will. Don't worry, guys. We still will talk about TCU men's basketball, TCU women's as well. But they've got plenty of time to figure it out. But it did not get off to a great start for TCU men's basketball.
What do you think? What do you think is the most likely scenario for TCU in these last 4 games?
I see a 3-1 path for TCU. I think it's going to be tough. It's really going to be difficult to win at BYU. It's at 9:15. That's a late. Well, there is it 8:15 for them.
It's still late. The 8:15 is still late. And listen, that place is going to be loud. If they were rattled by Arizona State, they're going to be rattled by.
Yeah, it's going to be loud. At Houston, I'm a little less worried about it now, but there still could be some trouble there. And then at home against Cincinnati, the Bearcats have been good, but again, I like TCU at home there. So I think 9-3 is on the table, and I'm not too mad at that. Obviously, would have loved 10-2, but I think I'm okay with it because it's what I predicted. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think 8-4.
Okay.
I think they'll lose in Provo and probably lose to Cincinnati.
Yeah, they certainly could. I'm Cincinnati's got a good
Would
team.
you feel disappointed by 8-4? I would.
I would feel very disappointed because it's not a step in anything. You're not going backwards. You're not going forwards. You just stay right where you were last year, and that.
Now, I don't think it's a fireable offense to go 8-4. I want to make that clear. I don't think it's a fireable. I don't think that is something that should cost people. Well, maybe some people's jobs, but I just don't like. I understand that this is not the Gary Patterson era where we can expect 10, 11, or 12 wins every single year. But I think that we can legitimately expect for TCU to ramp up and be with the big dogs in the Big 12 title conversation year in and year out. Because let's face it, we're looking at a top of this conference that is Arizona State, Utah, Houston, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, BYU. You cannot tell me that TCU does not have the resources or location or whatever to compete with those schools in football at a high level.
I totally agree. I'm right there with you. So we'll see. It's only time will tell where TCU will stand at the end of the season. Quickly, you got a score prediction?
Yeah, I'll go TCU 31, Iowa State 24.
That's I have the same exact prediction, I swear. 30. I just texted our editor at TCU on SI, TCU 31, Iowa State 24.
That's the second
Spread.
straight week that we've done that, by the way. And
Yeah.
we both texted him. He was probably like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
Same score again.
Yeah, that is odd. So we'll see. Again, kickoff set for 2:30 on Fox from Fort Worth, Texas. Should be a fun one. TCU taking on Iowa State in a must-win game. The Frogs.
Should be good weather. Go to the game.
It should be good weather. Seth will be there on the scene, covering
Come
the game.
meet me. Don't do that. Don't come meet me.
You won't make it far if you try to get up to the press box. So should be a fun game, and we'll talk all about it next week and give our thoughts on this game. So thank you all for tuning into this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. Make sure to go follow me and Seth on Twitter as well. A lot of updates as well from there, and hot takes, whatever. You can get it all.
Scorching hot.
Yeah, you can get it all from us there on Twitter. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week for the recap of this game. And yeah, take care, everyone. And as always, go Frogs.